Welcome, everyone, to Circle City Conversations. Thank you for joining me for our conversation today. Thank you to our sponsor, Hearst Lamontes, an Indiana law firm representing injured Hoosiers and their families. I'm here at on-site at Christie Farrell Lee Bell with none other than Tina Bell, a mom, an amazing lawyer, and you're even a missionary. I saw that. A medical malpractice guru and a leader in our legal community. Tina, thank you so much for being here with me.
Thank you for having me.
So we're here. We're located in your office, kind of an iconic office. I have a lot of memories here. So and we'll talk a little bit about your career and your career path, but about this office in particular, when you were doing work for defense representing doctors, did you ever come here and mediate?
Absolutely. I came here both to mediate and to do very long depositions with Lance Klein.
With Lance Klein.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So I spent many hours here before I came here as an employee.
Yeah. And what about Kathy? Did you ever litigate with her?
I did. You know, Kathy and I had a jury trial together over in Monticello when I was a defense lawyer. Yeah. She and Jill Emerson were on the other side.
Monticello. Is that White County?
Yes.
Indiana Beach is up there, right?
Yep. Exactly.
Was it a summer trial? Did you get to hang out at the lake maybe after?
You know, I am still very intense about trying cases. I mean, this is still, 25 years in. I am not the kind of person that can go hang out anywhere between nights of trial. I am the person who is like reworking my cross, reworking my opening, closing every single night until 2 a.m., unfortunately. And I thought maybe over time that would get better, but it just hasn't. I'm still neurotic like that during trial. So nope, I was not at the beach. Let me tell you, I was in my hotel plugging away.
Right. Are you the kind of person, so if I go try a case in another county and stay at a hotel, we'll get a separate room where you just spread out, right, everywhere? Like paperwork everywhere?
We've done that almost always. And recently we've started just doing an Airbnb where we can have the whole trial team there, having Amy Pardig come in as a jury consultant and just having the whole team be there and everything kind of war room style.
Yeah.
It's just more convenient, honestly, than doing it at a hotel.
Yeah, that's a fantastic idea. I never even thought about that. So, all right. So let's backtrack a little bit and tell me and our listeners a little bit about yourself. Where are you from originally?
So I grew up in a very small community right where Illinois and Iowa and Missouri meet. So it's the tri-state area. Wow. You can do all three states in like 15 minutes. And I graduated in a class of 56 to kind of give you an idea of the size. I graduated from high school in 3 years. So I was still 16 when I graduated from high school, headed to college. And I really, really wanted to be a marine biologist. And how I came up with that, I have no idea for this landlocked, Midwestern girl. But maybe too many episodes of Flipper. I don't know, honestly, but that's what I wanted to do. And my dad was a general contractor and was just adamant that I would be a lawyer and my sister would be an accountant. It's kind of what he needed for his business. And I'm the first person in our family to go to college on either side of the family tree.
Oh, wow.
And so off to college I went to do pre-law as opposed to marine biology. I applied to 5 schools in Florida for my marine biology degree. And by chance, one school in Illinois, Eureka College, which is the alma mater of what president?
Ronald Reagan. You went to Eureka?
Yes, I did.
Oh, my
Yes. Go Red Devils. So I ended up, my dad convinced me to follow the pre-law track. I went to Eureka, which was also just another very small, intimate setting. Literally, I think topped out at about 600 students total while I was there, but gave me a fantastic education and opportunity because I was so young when I hit the ground at college. I think if I would have gone someplace like Florida or a big school, who knows what would have happened.
Right.
And then it gave me the opportunity. I was in classes with 5 or 6 people. So when you don't show up for class in a 5-person class, you get a call from the professor. Where were you today? So it was a very accountable setting. I also had the opportunity to play golf in college, which I would not have had anyplace else. I was NAI Division III. So it was very fun to be on a college sports team. And then I had the opportunity to be, president of, I don't know, I think 14 or 15 organizations during my time there, including the student body. And it's just a fabulous, fabulous opportunity for me. And then I came here for law school at IU.
Yeah. So a quick story about Eureka. I played football at Hanover.
Oh, okay.
We played Eureka.
Yes.
Our first away game was at Eureka. And I'm a kid from Florida. I'd never even seen snow. It was my freshman year. And we're at Eureka. It wasn't snowing outside, but I'd also never ever seen this. There is a field, like a farming field, behind the goalposts. So when we scored, or when someone scored and they had to kick an extra point, or if they tried to kick a field goal, you'd have to, there was a kid that would run out into this farm
That's
field.
Awesome. So
and
Eureka.
fetch the ball. Yeah. I never, and I'm here, I'm like, it's September, maybe my freshman year, never really left Florida. And I'm watching this and I'm like, this is one of the oddest things I've ever seen, but I mean, it's working,
There you go.
Yeah. I will never forget that.
Yeah. Ronald Reagan spoke my junior year at the commencement, and he had already started to kind of deteriorate, and he read the same page of his speech twice.
Oh.
And it was just, it was really, just like kind of disheartening and sad. But then afterwards, he was a teak when he was there, and he got all the teaks around him, and they all did their teak sign.
Yeah.
It was just awesome.
Yeah.
I had a great experience. I have nothing but wonderful things to say about my time there.
So when you went into school, you were like, I'm pre-law, I'm going to be a lawyer.
So when I first got my driver's license in Illinois at that point, you could get your license at like 14. It was something crazy. And so at the age of 14, you could also get personalized plates in Illinois for free.
Oh my gosh.
My plate said TYJD 98. And what that meant was that I would have to graduate from high school early in 3 years, do college in 4 years, and immediately follow with 3 years of law school to make that number happen. And I graduated from IU with my law degree in 98.
And did you go to, was it IU Indianapolis or Bloomington?
I went IUND.
IUND.
I do believe the superior of the two schools.
That's a big debate.
It is a big debate, but you just have so many opportunities here to work and do internships, and it's just a great city to live in also.
It really is. And I chose IUND because I know myself and I get more experience. I learn more by being hands-on, and I knew that I would be better as a law clerk than in actual school. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when you were in law school, did you know what area of law you wanted to practice in?
Yes, I was adamant that I wanted to defend the wrongfully accused. So I just felt like that was kind of God's plan for me. And I worked the rape division of the Marion County Public Defender's Office. Here in Indiana, as you probably know, after you get 3 semesters in, you can work as a certified intern. So you can try cases, you can do everything you want. And so I did that for the Marion County Public Defender's Office. And it was not a pleasant experience. No. And so after 3 semesters of working the rape division, I really decided, don't know what I want to do, but I know that I don't want to do criminal.
Yeah.
And so they have that on-site interviewing opportunity. And I really kind of on a whim interviewed with a firm out of Fort Wayne that was looking for a med mal lawyer. And I got an offer and accepted it. And so literally right out of law school, I started my job. I graduated May 9th, started my job May 10th. Another big mistake to all lawyers, all young lawyers listening, don't study for the bar and start your new job at the same time.
Right.
Take the summer off.
Exactly. Yeah, because you need that time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, because if you don't pass the bar, who cares if you got a job?
Right, right. My firm kept telling me I was going to be the plant waterer if I didn't pass the bar. So there was like all this extra pressure. But I started there as a defense lawyer. I spent 10 really awesome years in Fort Wayne doing med mal defense. And when you're a defense lawyer, you have the opportunity to scrub in and watch procedures, see babies be born. Oh. It's so awesome being a defense lawyer. And I absolutely believe that God had me in that training ground, 10 years doing med mal defense to just make me a badass plaintiff's lawyer.
So I did not know that. So when you were doing defense work, it wasn't like after the fact something bad happened, then they come to you. You were actually seeing procedures. You were
Well, it's still after the fact. So
okay.
let's say the issue is that there's, open heart surgery and air gets pumped through the system.
Okay.
So for me to be able to describe the system to the jury, I need to see the system in action.
I see.
So the open heart surgeon would just take me into his next heart procedure. I would stand on a stool behind him, literally like looking over his shoulder while he's doing open heart surgery, and then just watching the lines that are happening in the surgery so that I can really articulate to the jury how there's no way the surgeon could have known that air was being pumped.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just such a fabulous opportunity that you don't get as a plaintiff's lawyer.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're sending me to all of the medical seminars. So I'm going to seminars learning how to read fetal heart monitoring strips. They're just really investing in me to be a really good medical wise person for their doctors. And you just don't have that opportunity as much as a plaintiff's lawyer.
Did, when you were doing defense work, did you have an opportunity to try any cases?
Yes.
You did.
So I tried 26 cases as a defense lawyer.
Wow.
And we only lost one. And most of my cases were tried with Ed Murphy, who is a, long time battle axe. And so I owe much of my trial ability to him. He's been a great person to learn from because his ability to think on his feet in trial is amazing. And so I got that opportunity. And so when I switched sides, I thought that I was just this great trial lawyer. But what I learned after my first jury trial as a plaintiff's lawyer that I lost was that when you walk into a courtroom with a doctor on your arm, the 6 people in that box, they want to find for you. They want to believe that he did the right thing. And even if they believe that he did the wrong thing, they might still give him a pass because of all the other people he saved.
Right.
So it's just so much harder on this side to get a verdict as a plaintiff's med mal lawyer. So now I'm very humble and realize I wasn't some amazing trial lawyer. I just was on the right side of the V to get good verdicts. So,
So let's talk a little bit about medical malpractice cases. They're totally different than like single event car crash cases. There's a different process. There's a different procedure. Just kind of tell me a little bit about that. The lifespan maybe of a med mal case.
We have a statute in India that was created by a governor who was a physician.
Okay.
So he has done everything in his power to make it very hard to sue doctors in Indiana. And so it's a horrible process for patients. And really kind of what motivated me to switch sides is that there aren't a lot of people out there doing med mal full time because it's such a tough area to practice in. The attorney's fees are restricted. Yeah. So if I wanted to try a car case and charge 45% to go to trial, I could do that. I can't do that in med mal. My attorney fees are restricted to 32%. There's also caps on damages here in Indiana for medical malpractice patients. So if in fact I have, let's say, a quad who already has $3 million in specials racked up and we go to trial, we're never getting $3 million. It's always going to be ratcheted back to the cap, which right now is at $1.85 million. So his medical bills are going to get paid before he gets paid and he gets nothing, literally nothing. I mean, it's what's so crazy. And then I just think it takes so long. So to answer your initial question, kind of the life of a med mal case sometimes is 8 years. I mean, one of the last ones I tried was 14 years out from the event. I mean, we tried that case twice so that there were things like that, but it just takes forever because we have to first go through a 3-physician panel, which is comprised of only Indiana physicians can sit on that panel. So it's a little bit like the fox guarding the hen house in a way,
right?
Because every doctor that sits on there is like, well, there, but for the grace of God go I, that could have been me. And they're very quick to give the benefit of the doubt. Honestly, if I was reviewing lawyers, I can see how that would happen.
Yeah.
But it sets up a system where about 93% of the time, that 3-physician panel is going to find in favor of the doctor in some way.
Wow.
So it's very difficult to get a verdict out of that little group in your favor as a plaintiff's lawyer. And whatever they say becomes Exhibit A at the jury trial. So it's not dispositive. Like if they say there was no malpractice or they say there was malpractice, we still go to trial.
Yeah.
But what they say is presented to the jury.
Yeah. Yeah. So you mentioned this a little, kind of hinted at this. Is it fair to say that the public perception of the medical field is one of the toughest things to overcome, one of the biggest hurdles that you have to overcome.
And understandably so.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a lot of respect for the medical field. We have some amazing healthcare happening in Indiana, like groundbreaking new stuff happening right here. So I really love doing what I do for that reason, because now I can look at a case and say, okay, this was a bad outcome, not malpractice. And I am very serious about sitting my people down and saying, look, this was a bad outcome. I don't want you to go find some bottom feeder lawyer who's going to drag you through 8 years of litigation. So I am doing a service to the physician community by protecting them from non-meritorious cases.
Right.
But we all make mistakes. I make mistakes. Mm-hmm. And when that happens, unfortunately, in the physician community, somebody dies.
Right.
So absolutely, it is an extreme hurdle when I take a case to trial. And I tell my folks, I never know what's going to happen taking a med mal case to trial. You just never know.
Yeah. So let's talk about, medical malpractice trial. Okay. You've tried a lot of cases, any trials that kind of resonate with you or that you really remember, and tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, I think the one that I probably remember most is the one I mentioned a few minutes ago, the very first plaintiff's trial I tried.
Yeah.
I tried it in Terre Haute, and it was a young woman who had a disease process called necrotizing fasciitis. And it's a very bad bug that basically, like, once you get it, the healthcare team has to respond very quickly or it just eats away at your skin. And so she ended up getting it in her fingertips, and she was just left kind of on the floor in the hospital for several days while this bug just kind of ate up her arm. Oh. And during the trial, I felt like I had one of my best cross-examinations of the defendant physician that I'd ever had, and really even since. I mean, it was really awesome. And I felt like he admitted on the stand that he committed malpractice.
Yeah.
So when we headed into the verdict for them to deliberate, it was not a question for me of, will we get a plaintiff's verdict? The question was, how much will they value this case? And there was even discussion at lunch between the defense counsel and I of, do you guys want to talk settlement? And I was so cocky at that point that I was like, no, you had your chance. And so we went, we sent the jury off to deliberate, and they came back with a defense verdict. And I was blown away. I mean, I could not believe it. And the judge, who tried a very fair case, went in and met with the jury immediately after their verdict was read, and he came back out. And she had lost 2 fingers and had significant scarring, limited use of her arm. And the judge said that the first thing the jury said to him was, well, she still has 8 fingers.
Wow.
And so it was really eye-opening to me that if you're going to try a med mal case in Indiana, you better have really good damages and a really good plaintiff. Mm-hmm. You need the facts on your side.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, they're going to send you home packing.
Yeah. When you made the transition from doing defense work to plaintiff's work, did you start working here?
No, I didn't. I actually started at Stewart & Stewart.
Okay.
And the practice model there is just different than the practice model here.
Yeah.
And so after about 3 or 4 years there, I had the opportunity to join this group, which is, kind of a silk stocking.
Right.
Amazing firm. Yeah. I love it here. I mean, I'm not in the honeymoon phase anymore. I've been here a long time. And, Lee Christie is just such a fabulous person to be partners with. And Kyle, I mean, they're just good people at their core.
Yep. They
are just fabulous lawyers. I feel so incredibly blessed and fortunate to be here.
Yeah.
And then the cases that come in here, I mean, right now, I know my numbers from last year. I mean, in 2023, I looked at about a little over 800 medical malpractice cases, and we don't really advertise at all.
Right.
It's all other lawyers who don't want to do those med mal cases that are sending them to us for review. And out of that 800, I filtered down about 50 that I got records on, and I took 6. So that takes a well-oiled machine to appropriately handle and decline off 790 cases.
Yeah.
And I do it very hands-on. I review every single intake myself, and I tell every single referring lawyer why I'm declining or why I'm keeping it.
Yeah.
So it's a well-oiled machine here. I have wonderful staff. My paralegal has been with me 11 years. It's just, she's actually smarter than me.
Yeah.
And she's my glue. She makes me a better mom. She makes me a better person. She absolutely makes me a better lawyer. So I value my staff. My intake team is unbelievable. The patience that they have for the calls of the people who almost died,
right,
but didn't.
Right. Yeah.
So, they're really, really great. And then, the medical records team and my decline team, everybody here works really hard to make sure we get through those numbers. Well. Yeah.
I feel like with the med mal cases, properly vetting them at first is really the key. I mean, you're looking at maybe 1% of them that you think you can get a result on.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's nice to be at this point in my career, 26 years in, where I can say, I'm not looking at any more close calls.
Right.
Now, I still make a mistake on intake. I mean, I get 3 years in and I'm like, crap, I didn't know about that record or, whatever it is. But I feel like I've gotten very selective on what I'm willing to take now.
Yeah. No, and that's a good thing. I mean, do the best you can with the best cases. And unfortunately, sometimes we have to tell folks that there's nothing we can do.
It's a hard thing to say. There's nothing I can do because it was, your loved one died because it was his day. It's also a hard thing to say your loved one died of medical negligence.
Right.
It's so hard to process, I think, when you're grieving that loss, to know that it didn't have to go down that way.
Yeah.
And I've recently experienced in my personal life a couple of deaths of very close friends of mine. Their children died very unexpectedly and tragically. And it's really been because of them in the last 3 years that I've understood grief in a different way. I'd been around grief for a long time prior to having it happen in my circle. And now I'm seeing just how devastating grief is and how it affects people in so many different ways.
Yeah.
And it's made me, I think, a better plaintiff's lawyer, having had that experience and just now having a heart to be able to tell people in a different, more compassionate way.
Yeah.
Either way, that their loved one didn't die of malpractice or did.
Right. No, you don't do anything except medical malpractice, right?
I really try not to. Lee will draw me into a trial or something here and there. So I'll do a car accident case with him or something like that. But primarily, I really try to stay head down doing medical negligence only because there's plenty for me to do.
Right.
So I don't need to dabble elsewhere, except for the fact that it's really nice when Lee gets a $43 million verdict or whatever he's getting. And I'm over here, picking away at $1.8 million. So so every once in a while, I don't mind jumping on a case that has a big verdict potential.
Right. Did you, and I know Kathy Lee retired. Did you ever get to try a case with her?
I did not try any case with her, only the one that I tried opposite from her.
Okay.
Yeah,
only the
in
one
Monticello.
That you tried opposite.
Yeah, but she's left a big hole here. Kathy's just such a wonderful human being.
Yes.
She's really was a beautiful example of how to just practice in an ethical, respectful, cordial way.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember reading that she had one trial. It was a few years back, but she got like 13 strikes for cause or something crazy like that. I was just so impressed with that because to me, that's the most difficult part of trial.
Yeah. She was loved by the judges, by opposing counsel. I mean, she's just, she's really missed here. That's for sure. So
let's kind of change gears a little bit, talk a little bit more about jury trials. I mentioned, the part that I guess fear the most. When it comes to trial, what's your favorite part of trial?
100% voir dire.
Oh my God.
I mean, I love that part of the trial because I love meeting people And I use a kind of a mixture of Don Keenan's Reptile and Nick Rowley's Brutal Honesty.
Yeah.
And I meld those, and I have so much fun in voir dire. It's absolutely my favorite part of the trial, hands down.
Do you, in Marion County, there's some time limitations and things like that. How do you deal with those?
I can get a really good voir dire done in about 45 minutes.
Really?
I feel like I can. Maybe I'm,
that's great.
but I feel like I can. And it helps me when the defense lawyer honestly is good at it also. When I have a defense lawyer who gets up there and talks about himself and his case and he doesn't ask any questions and he gets nothing out of the box, I'm like, then it's all in my lap. So I can do it in 45 minutes per round. I get 45 minutes first round, then usually 30 minutes the next round. And I don't like time limits, but if you can give me that much, I can get it done.
Right. So you're here, you're a partner here, right?
I am.
Okay.
Yes.
And as from what? When did you become a partner? A few years back, right?
Yeah, I'm not even sure. I'm going to say, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Is my best guess.
Yeah. And as far as
it was, let me just say that it was a big deal for my family when I made partner here and they put my name on the sign outside.
Yeah.
And so it was fun, standing by the sign, sending a picture to my mom,
Really?
So it's a big deal. I was the first one to go to college, let alone law school. And so my local newspaper in the little town where I grew up did a little thing on me with my picture. That. Yeah, it was really sweet.
I love
and
that.
I have my dad to thank for that. He's the one who picked this career for me.
Yeah.
And luckily he picked well. This is my 26th year in practice. And there are still days right now where I drive home thinking, I can't believe this is the job God's going to let me do every day.
Right.
I love this so much. Yeah. I'm so passionate about what I do and I love it so much.
Yeah.
And I'm really sad that neither one of my girls wants to be a lawyer.
Really?
Yeah, unfortunately not. They both think I work too hard.
They do.
So,
oh, gosh. Yeah.
But I would absolutely encourage any young people thinking about going to law school. I just love it so much. And it's a great mom job. Both my girls played high school golf. And I think in the 4 years that both of them played, I missed maybe 2 golf events because, and part of that reason is my paralegal Deva, who protected my calendar and made sure I was out the door on time. But as long as you're watching your trial calendar, obviously when you're in trial, all bets are off.
You have to try the case.
Yeah. But as long as that's not happening, it's a great mom job where you can go and you can be present with your kids and you can do those PTO assignments. And I love it. It's just a fantastic job.
Yeah. So it's funny you said that about your girls don't want to be lawyers. My kids, we talked about it earlier, they're young, so they haven't mentioned anything about wanting to be a lawyer. I honestly don't know what I would say to them, because the standard response from a lot of people is, don't do it. Like from a lot of lawyers that are maybe jaded or just don't particularly love what they're doing. But I'm like you, I'm in the same boat. I was telling someone the other day, it's not even a job or a career for me. It's a calling. Mm. Like I'm pulled to it. It's like gravity, So when I get to do really cool things like this podcast, but when I get to dig into a case, that's when I'm happiest.
It is a blessing and a curse to love your job that much.
Right.
Because, my kids think I work too much.
Yeah.
And so when you love something this much, it's hard to not keep pushing the ball in the evenings or on the weekends or on vacation.
Yes.
And it was a physician out of South Bend who will remain nameless in maybe my probably 7th or 8th year of practice when I was working 7 days a week, 10-hour days, crazy. He was getting emails from me at all hours of the night. And he and his wife, I tried a case for him, and he and his wife took me out to dinner afterwards. And they said, basically, we're going to invest in you. And we're going to hold you accountable to vacationing with your family. Mm-hmm. And then he did that.
Yeah.
He really spoke into me and he checked in with me every 6 months for years to make sure I was vacationing and finding time for my family.
Yeah.
And so I do think it can be a blessing and a curse, and you have to find work-life balance. And I am not successfully doing that even yet at 26 years, but I'm a lot better.
Right.
A lot better.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, same for me. I struggle, with that, but setting that time aside is real. So let's, I want to talk a little bit about some things you're doing outside of the practice. ABOTA. Tell me a little bit more about that.
So I'm currently the president of ABOTA this year, and that is a group of trial lawyers that you cannot get into that organization unless you're actually walking the walk.
Right.
So it's not one of these things where you pay for membership or you get some type of group vote to get you in. It's not like that. You have to fill out an application that shows that you have tried cases. And when I got in, you had to have tried 25 cases. And then we had such difficulty getting members, with COVID and everything, that we've recently reduced it to 10 trials. Yeah. But even now, finding people who've tried 10 cases is a little difficult.
It is.
So when we get together, it's defense lawyers, judges, plaintiffs' lawyers, but everybody at that table is trying cases. There's nobody there puffing their chests, as an advertising lawyer or something like that. Nothing like that. Everyone's trying cases.
Yeah.
Fantastic group. Wonderful discussion. Great place to have referrals internally because if you send somebody a case, that's doing eminent domain, they're actually doing them.
Try it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, no, I had the pleasure of going to that, the dinner in December, and I looked around and I was like, these are some of the best trial lawyers in the entire state.
Yeah. It's also nice then when you want to know, hey, I have a case in Maryland and I want a good, referral over there. If they're in ABOTA, they're trying cases.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mentioned earlier that you have done some mission work. Tell me about it. I see the Facebook post. You look so happy.
Oh my gosh, it is like my happy place. Yeah. So I am the medical liaison to the Global Orphan Foundation, which is a wonderful organization that was started by a lawyer here in Indianapolis, Michelle Jackson. Oh, and she and her husband, Wayne, purchased a piece of land over in the Congo, and they've built a village there for orphans. It's unbelievable. So they have these little houses. Maybe now we're up to 10 houses. Each house usually has about 6 to 8 kids in it and a mama. And right now the Congo has some of the highest orphan population of any country. And they don't allow any international adoption. So the kids that are living in our village are there for a lifetime until they age out and decide to move out of the village or work in the village. And so right now we have about, 97 kids in the village. And I go boots on the ground at least once a year for about a week. And I get eyeball to eyeball with every single kid and kind of assess their needs and assess the needs of the mamas and hear about what's going on. And then pretty much weekly, I'm staying in touch with a physician. We have a physician on site every week, a trauma counselor on site twice a week. Our kids are all going to a private school. It's just unbelievable what Michelle and Wayne have done. The name of the village is called Bolingo, which means love in Lingala. That's the spoken language there. And it's a fabulous, I love being there. And now because I've gone so many years in a row, I know the kids by name. Yeah. They know me when I walk into the village. It's just so, so, so fun. And missionary work has been a part of my life for a long time. I mean, I've had my kids. There's another wonderful local organization called Mission Uprising that takes corporate. I mean, it'd be awesome if you wanted to take your law firm or something like that on a mission trip. This is what I like to call the Ritz of mission trips, because you fly into San Diego on Thursday and you fly home on Sunday, basically. So it's a very short trip. It's very safe. You are transported over the border by Mission Uprising. You stay at a YWAM facility, which is Youth with a Mission. And you build a house for somebody in Tijuana, in the Tijuana area. And it's such a great, well-organized, well-oiled machine. And it's so giving. It's just fabulous. And I've done that with my kids since they were probably in second or third grade. I mean, I've had my kids in the red light district of Tijuana laying hands on women, praying over them, while these women literally pulled out spoons and were doing crack in front of my kids. But Julie Davis once said to me, she's the person who's kind of a leader in Mission Uprising. She said the safest place to be is in God's will. And I just step into that and we roll. And so I've had my kids on a lot of mission trips.
So your children, you have 2 girls, right?
Yes.
And they have been exposed to all this since
very early. I mean, since they both went to Heritage Christian, and which we loved Heritage Christian. But since like second and third grade, they began doing mission trips with me on a yearly basis, really.
Yeah, I love that. I think that, I mean, the impression that was made on them at that age.
My kids, they're very spoiled. And so I have one at SMU right now, which is the most worldly place on earth, and one at Purdue. And so I think this has helped them see that not everybody lives like us.
Right.
Yeah.
So what are some of your like hobbies and other things to do outside of the law?
Well, if I have the time, I love golfing.
Yeah.
But, as the kids were growing up, finding 4 hours to go spend on the golf course without them was a pretty impossible task. And so now that they're both in college, I've had the opportunity to kind of get back in, take some lessons again, like dust off the cobwebs.
Right.
I make a really great scramble edition
Nice.
because, I get to hit from the red tees. I can still kind of get a hold of a driver. So I really love that. But beyond that, most of my activities are involved. I'm involved with a group called The Well, where we are a group of women who travel. We have a well here in Indiana, in Texas, in North Carolina, in Kenya, where we speak to women about kind of their irreplaceable role in life. And so I really love public speaking. Yeah. And so I'm very active in The Well, and that's another, it's an organization that's kind of under the umbrella of Mission Uprising.
Yeah. So what would you say to a young female trial lawyer who's like fresh out of school and walks into her first ITLA conference, kind of looks around, there's a lot of older white guys there.
Yeah. That was my first ITLA conference. There's a lot of pale, male, stale. I mean, you're looking around like, oh goodness. But that's been my life from the beginning. I mean, I clerk for Visu Shields, and she's just such an amazing lawyer and female and trailblazer. I've had these wonderful women like Visu Shields, like Maggie Robb, who have just spoke into me in a way that I couldn't be where I am today as confidently without those women who blazed a trail before me. And so I guess if I was speaking to that young female walking in there, like bump up next to another woman you see there and be like, hey, this is my first ITLA conference. There is not anybody in that group that wouldn't be like, hey girl, give me your story. How can I help you? There are so many people that put a hand down to help me up through this process, especially in the transition coming from the defense bar to the plaintiff's bar. I will say that's one thing that I was so surprised by, because in the defense bar, you're kind of all fighting over the same fish. Yeah. Everybody wants to get that Med Pro or that Pro Assurance book. So they're not helping each other. They want to be the standout. And then I switched sides and I was like, oh my goodness. Yeah. All these people want to help me? Yeah. Every day? Like I could email right now. I could email to, 5 people and be like, could you guys come to the firm this afternoon and listen to me give my opening? And if they could, all 5 would be here. Right. I mean, it's unbelievable how just available the people in the plaintiff's bar make themselves to each other. Yeah. Yeah. That's one of my favorite things about ITLA. And really so that would be my number one recommendation is just get in there and have a conversation. Yeah. And you're going to find some great people, men and women. Right. Who are going to help you. So, well, thank you so much, Tina. Thank you so much for being on the show. What is next for Tina Bell? That's an interesting question. That's a really interesting question because, people around me are talking the R word. Yeah. Retirement. Right. And I can't imagine it. I can't imagine my life without work. Yeah. And so I do have to start succession planning and looking at what does this next decade look like for me as my kids start having kids. Right. I don't know. Yeah. We'll see. So if any of our listeners want to get a hold of you, how can they do that? I am not a lawyer who has some type of wall around me. If you call my firm and I'm here, I pick up the phone.
Yeah.
And so, calling here at the firm, you will get me if I'm here. And if I'm not here, you get my wonderful paralegal Deva.
Thank you so much for being on the show, Tina. Thanks for listening to Circle City Conversations podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on more future conversations.